stone to VCP kind of jobs. And that was actually what I was meant for. I was not going to go through another painful experience of starting a company. But so happens, right? Man proposes and God disposes. So around the time when I was looking to come back to VCP, the subprime mortgage crisis happened in US, and then the whole banking sector went down, including the PE sector. So I didn't have an option, and I couldn't stay in corporate world for very long. It just was not very exciting experience for me. So I said कि अगले 3 साल तक तो कुछ होने वाला नहीं दुनिया में, तो ऐसा करते एक बार और try कर लेते हैं. So fundamentally that is how Nularity started. I call it as my safest $1 billion idea. Sitting in US, I thought cloud telephony or enterprise telephony as a market is going to, as a derivative market is going to evolve in India after now that everybody have mobile phones. So people have more.
So learning from here, एक बार अगर वो कीड़ा काट जाता है तो वो हमेशा आपके अंदर वो लगा रहता है कि दोबारा भी करना है, even if you fail, right? I mean, you can't settle in a corporate job. So it will change you as a person. Your psychology will change, right?
I think what fundamentally ended up happening, you do a startup and you quite enjoy the independence, even though there's a lot of pain also. And the way human psyche work, that you pains after some time you forget, but the happiness you don't forget, right? You remember all the happy moments of your life, but you don't remember the life times when you were like very painful. So the part of the startup which was painful you forget, right? And the part which was very good you remember, and that just keeps coming back to you, right? Every time you're in a large company, you have some problem, you say कि वो जिंदगी अच्छी थी. So eventually it just catches up, and I think with me. Also, what had happened was I was working for McKinsey, where you help Fortune 50 companies, CEOs, right, with their strategy, which is like the best job in US. And the part and process of the job is you go fix up things in very large company, which are Fortune 50 companies. And then you realize कि यार यहाँ पर इतनी समस्या है, इतना खराब है, तो how bad can you do? Like if they're Fortune 50 companies with so many problems, that you have to screw up like really badly and I thought इतना तो screw up नहीं करेंगे, अब थोड़ा सीख गए. So I think that kind of that, and then with the fact that there was like happy memories are still with me, while the bad painful memories were lost. I think which is what led to very safely trying to do another idea, and then of course like India was going through telecom revolution, and I thought enterprise telephony was about to be born.
So I think you made the software while you were sitting in the US. पहले से तैयार कर लिया था आपने. So
yeah. So I was very safe this time.
Yeah.
So I raised capital. I raised like $500,000 while sitting in US, and then between going back forth between India and US, I raised another $1.5 million with friends and larger set of friends. So, typically in India at that time, you would not have a startup with $2 million of angel investment. So that allowed us to kind of fail a lot of time and still not die. That was very useful. I think I was risk averse right
so
from
learning take risks with other people's money, not your money.
I think,
OPM.
I think I would put
That's
it
what
in
a lot of entrepreneurs are doing. आप देख लीजिए. Snapdeal, Flipkart.
I would kind of disagree a little bit, right? I would say that building up a great company requires building credibility with your stakeholders, right? And $2 million, when we raised $500,000, we used that money very well, and that led other people to put $1.5 million, right? And because that was managed well, you could raise $6.5 million, which is Sequoia came in. And because that was raised well or managed well, there was $15 million that Mayfield and Sequoia came in. So credibility is the most important thing when you're building up a company, whether you use stakeholders or your customers and others. However, what money allows you to do is to make a lot of mistakes and not die. And fundamentally speaking, anytime you're trying to do something new or big, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. People don't shut up their companies because they kind of become disillusioned with the idea. they just run out of money and resources trying. And if you have more kind of money, then you can kind of fail more times before you have a chance to succeed. So I think that way it is useful, and managing stakeholders is very important. So yeah, so that we did. Nolati got started, and we are around 450 people company in 6-7 countries now. Pretty much dominate the enterprise telephony as a market in all of the emerging markets. Yeah, I think it's growing very fast, close to 150% growth rate, and pretty reasonably well respected company. One of the few enterprise product companies coming out of India which are taking up emerging markets. So this is
Sure. And also you started building the product while you were in the US. So maybe learning that moonlighting is good. So अगर आप job कर रहे हैं और साथ में अगर employer से छुप के अगर आप अपना product भी बना रहे हैं, तो it is okay, right? I mean,
No,
Flipkart
yeah.
started like that in Amazon.
I think I would make a bigger statement, which is typically people when they are people build a product first and then they try to sell, which is what I did the first time around. You should try to sell first and then try to build the product, and that will make sure that you remain very customer centric right from the beginning. And so what we did was, while I was sitting in US, my co-founder was selling it in India, and that is how we kind of make around another 1.5 crore rupees of initial investment in profits. And that was possible because we were selling, and then based on what was needed in the market, we tried to build it up.
So sell first and then build later.
Yeah, I think that's a safer approach.
Sure.
If you can pull it off. In enterprise, you can pull it off. In consumer, it is very difficult to do.
Sure. Alok, Ambrish talked about the credibility part. So you are seeing a lot of startups जो कि they're just burning money, putting so much marketing and ads on, and एक ही तरीके के 5 billboards कभी दिख जाते हैं on the same road. So आप थोड़ा बताएं कि बाकी लोग housing.com का नाम लिए बिना.
So I'll not call it burning money. जब हम पढ़ते थे, so we were taught that the customer is the CEO. So all these startups are now our CEO, and I can't badmouth my CEO. So they're giving me money at the end of the day, and it's fine. That's how the see, somewhere it's justified in the sense that advertising and marketing is required to get a lot of traction, to get a lot of downloads. But it's eventually how you treat the customer once that app is downloaded, once that customer interface has happened. If it is worthwhile, the customer will come again. If it is not, then that customer is gone for life. We were taught, and I hold such fundamentals. These are teachings for life. One good customer brings 7 customers along. But one bad customer takes away 21 customers from you. So advertising is fine, branding is fine, marketing is fine. At the end of the day, if your service to any of the customer is good, then you're sure to succeed. Eventually, everyone has to build a sustainable model. Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, everything sounds good. But the sustainability is required. We are one of the clients of Nolarity. We have been with them for last 3-4 years. No issues, never. I mean, अब जब renewal subscription का mail आता है ना, तो सोचना भी नहीं पड़ता कि ये पैसे देने या नहीं देने, or we have to shift to anyone else. So sustainability in the sense that the customer interface, the service that you're giving to the existing clients plus the new ones who are coming on board, it has to be near perfect. If at all it is not perfect, don't worry. The customer is smart enough. If you're treating him well, he'll again come back to you. So don't run away from bad customers. Rather, talk to them if at all possible and make it fine. There's always room for mistakes, and the customer treats it that way.
Do you want to add?
Yeah, so I'll just add to it. He's right when he says that today's startups, they work like all kind of moonlighting, daylighting, everything they're doing. But my point is that, as a startup and at Entrepreneur and at Franchise India, we come across quite a few. So we do a research on them as to how they really work and how do they really. So I find that most startups have great ideas, and they would eventually start with it that, I want to make a difference over here, or this is what I want to provide. And most of them, and this is something like I'm telling you about, almost 65% of startups I have observed don't have a revenue model when they start. So they would have a great product, they know this service is something that we're going to offer, but they would at the end of the day not know where they're going to make money from. And that is usually, so that is, so it's totally against the rule of sustainability, which Alok just talked about over here. But what is most important is for startups is, and particularly when they start getting investors on board, is that they start pivoting. In what investors do, and I think they do it rather well.
Pivoting means changing the model, business
Yeah,
model.
so they would kind of make or try to bring the money angle into it. That while the model is good, but where is the startup going to earn from? So I think what I would like to see, and money is not always, it's like right now it's like a low-hanging fruit, but it's not always going to remain. So a lot of startups in the coming years, and if, with the way the government is thinking that all of you should start up, and if you decide to go ahead with it, money is going to become really, really tight. So what you need to do is you need to go back to probably the old rules, which is bootstrap, think again, where are you going to put the revenue? Where is the money really going to come from? So my point is that pivoting is one of the most important things today which startups should be doing in order to reach that sustainability.
अगर ये 2 या 3 महीना नहीं चल रहा है या
हाँ,
6
तो आप
तो
नया
you have
थोड़ा
to
model को change करो।
don't fall in love with your idea,
Yeah.
fall in love with the problem, customer's problem.
तो आपको देखना है कि कहाँ पर आप पैसा बना सकते हो या उसके अंदर और क्या कर सकते हो जहाँ से आप पैसा बनाओगे, and that is where investors will also come to you. अगर आपके पास you can show them the money that आज शायद इतना नहीं बन रहा लेकिन फ्यूचर में मैं यहाँ पर पैसे बनने वाला है. So that is the critical piece of the puzzle. So don't think startup without thinking that पैसा कहाँ से आएगा.
Other people's money will not remain with you.
Always, it will not always be available. So it's better some way also to think bootstrapping in your startup.
Alok, one more thing. So lot of startups, कई लोगों के पास बहुत पैसे नहीं होते marketing के लिए. So what would you like to tell those startups के कैसे marketing करें, कैसे अपना word of mouth
See, your customer is the best marketer that you can get. I mean, eventually, why does one start up? You're starting up because you see a problem and you have got a great solution for them. Everything remains in the mind. But is the customer willing to accept the solution that you have? Maybe a test market would do. Go and talk to 15, 20, 100 odd people who can buy the product. They will suggest some changes. If you think it's practical, do it. If you don't think, don't do it. But a good customer will eventually get you more customers. That's the bottom line. If you don't get funding, and I mean, if you have to advertise. Otherwise, digital marketing today is one of the easiest ones to catch on to. People can just do it themselves. Facebook, Twitter, Google, social, everything is DIY. Do it yourself. You don't need people like us to guide you.
like
Cheap.
PhD CCI is doing that.
Yeah, PhD is doing it
right now.
live, and we'll soon retweet it to our followers. But I think digital is becoming a huge market, and that's the easiest way to get onto the marketing game. I mean, once you get Series A or Series B, come to us. We'll guide you better.
Series A or Series B तो बहुत दूर की बात. कई लोग so angel, how to approach angels, and also a lot of people say when you are going to start up, at least have some cash in the bank, थोड़ा अपना savings रखें. So what do you advise your startups? A lot of people say 1 साल या 18 महीने का at least savings रखें तब जाके एक startup के बारे में सोचें. Otherwise, might be a problem. What do you advise?
I completely agree with that. See, a startup. I mean, I've also invested in a couple of them, so I can relate to both the sides. The issue is that if I'm investing in a startup, so जो भी entrepreneur है, जो भी CEO है, जो भी promoter है, who has a majority shareholding, he has to treat my money like his money. You can't just take a bank transfer and start burning it off.
What is the check size? आप कितना देते हैं? अगर कोई approach करना चाहता है आपको?
I'm into angel investments. So 5 to 30 lakhs is our
5 to 30 lakhs. अगर किसी के पास idea है तो अभी
yeah,
invest
and,
हो सकते हैं. Sure.
I also think कि एक बार आप एंजल आपको मिल गए ना उसके बाद बाकी सीरीज भी तो सॉर्ट आउट हो ही जाती है कहीं ना कहीं एंजल तक ही पहुंचना ज़्यादा मुश्किल है.
Okay. Ritu Maria, if a lot of people want to do something in the content space, तो content से कैसे पैसे बनाए जाएं, and what is the model that you are at Franchise India is following? Because content is also a big play right now in India. Yeah.
Well, I mean, content today is
Content started.
has and will always be about advertising. You know, so advertisers' money would always run content. So if you're looking to set up a media company or you're thinking that digital media is your space, so eventually it will have to be pushed by the big people who are paying him money, or would also be the same people who would pay you the revenue that you need. But I think what is more important today is community building. So whatever business, whether it's a media business or a non-media business, it is more about building first a community and then getting the community to pay you for whatever you're selling to them. So that is the path you need to tread as you put up a startup and go forward with it. Some startups I see have a great community, but they don't know how to monetize that community. So what is important is that not just community building. I was attending the Startup India Summit and I thought that Airbnb made a great point there. She says, we don't want followers, we want users. So eventually, even if you say that I have some 1 million followers, doesn't help if they're not going to pay you in some form or the other. So I think
1 million
important.
downloads might not help if not a single one of them.
Yeah, if they're not going to pay you anything. So I mean, likes are not good enough till you can put some money behind it.
Sure. So VK Mishra, how many of our students here? कितने लोग students हैं? Okay, lot of them. So अगर इनको कुछ कहना चाहेंगे कि education का क्या role होता है, in success in life, and actually lot of the big successes in the technology world, in the Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and so many of them are actually dropouts. So आप उनको क्या कहना चाहेंगे अगर वो कुछ करना चाहते हैं और lot of the times parents actually prevent कि भाई job करो, business मत करो.
No, you asked very good question, a relevant question. In my company, my all fellow board members are Punjabis. And there's
Balbir
a say,
Uppal, he started the company.
yes,
Yeah.
there's a say, Punjabi is the biggest entrepreneur in the world. You can see all over world, every country is having Punjabis. But around 10 years before, I was having a chat with one very famous company called iGate. And I have introduced that company in Punjab, and Chief Minister was discussing the possibilities of, involving the small entrepreneurs in with the help of big companies. So the very blunt comment came from Chief Minister himself that entrepreneurship should not create that much excitement that you end up selling samosas or running taxi in the anywhere in the world or in the US or somewhere. That doesn't mean you create so much excitement in your run of entrepreneurship that you forget everything and you end up selling samosas or you end up.
So is that bad?
running
अगर कोई,
over.
someone is
So
selling
dropouts doesn't make any relevance in the entrepreneurship. Once you are in college, once you are in any kind of entrepreneurship learning, then you should try to complete that learning, because every learning process is having some beginning and some end, and there is a course material, there is some chapters, so you have to complete, you have to take complete study of anything. But if at all circumstances created around you and you become entrepreneur without having any formal education, that doesn't mean your learning process has stopped there. You can keep learning while doing any of thing, whatever you are doing. So learning process is always there. I've crossed 50, but I'm learning so many things. I go global, I keep learning. And really from China, I am so impressed that I have started my companies with China. I've done my IT company in China. I have taken their leads from China like Alibaba and BYD. So in India, we are very fancy about the names. सबसे पहले हमारी प्रॉब्लम होती है कि हमको कंपनी का नाम क्या डालना है. काम शुरू करने के पहले हमारी जो भी थॉट्स हैं, आधा डाइवर्जन होता है कि कंपनी का नाम क्या डालना है. चाइना में मैंने BYD के ओनर से पूछा, he is one of the richest person in China now. He is making batteries. Any of your phone you are using, you must be using BYD battery. He is the largest manufacturer of any kind of battery in the world. He has told name is nothing. You forget about name. BYD, I will give explanation of this name. Bring you dollars, that's a BYD.
How many have heard of Oyo Rooms? Oyo Rooms नहीं किसको? So that guy is 21-year-old and he's now 24, but 21-year-old men start kiya and they've already overtaken Ginger Hotels, the largest budget room brand in the country. So it doesn't mean that age is a factor. It's your determination and passion to do something which will take you somewhere. Not exactly the education. Education, as BK Mishra said, you can actually learn on the job. But as you said, degree का थोड़ा सा एक फायदा होता है कि doors खुल जाते हैं शायद.
So learning is important. The learning process is important because then only you can evaluate the risk. Like Mr. Gupta has told about the marketability, importance of marketing of your product or marketing of